This is already my fourth video and I'm so happy that I'm getting almost 3-digit subscribers. Thank you so much. So again, I will do a woodcraft project, but what I'm gonna make can be a little mediocre, so please have this Coke and Snickers to relax. Oh, I forgot, I just made them. Don't they look so much fancier? Anyway, let's see how I made them. To begin with, I went to Rockler to get those hardwood, and I started with making kumiko strips by using a marking gauge. To be honest, going to Rockler was my first time, and of course this is the first time I used those fancy wood. So I was so excited about this project. I also cut walnut for kumiko base frames. I actually bought this saw and workbench too. As usual, they are cheap ones, but worked fine for my needs. Here they are. I planed them, but they are still a little off. Here, I'm making slots on strips for kumiko, and I'm really getting used to doing this process. However, I worried about the slot width at this time. When I used soft basswood, I made the slots a little smaller than the actual strip width for a snug fit. But if I do the same way for this hardwood, they might break when pushing them in. I was conservative, so the slots run a little on the wider side. I hope they won't create noticeable gaps later. For this project, I actually set 3 missions for me, which were to make kumiko by hardwood, at least complete kumiko fittings, and make a tight fit dovetail joint. Anyways, it seems like I finished assembling the kumiko. I see gaps, but it's alright. Then I made frames for the coasters. Yeah, I stupidly hit the camera. This is only the 1/4 inch thickness wood, but it was still difficult for me to do a perfect miter cut. By the way, speaking of the number of subscribers, I was so surprised it went up a lot. Again, the first video of building a wooden PC case was just for me to learn video editing, and actually it was also for my English practice. But now, I guess I'll stick to woodworking, and I have to think how I can entertain you guys with my limited skill, tools, and space. It seems like I finished trimming the kumiko and adjusting their sizes, so I fit kumiko in the base. There were minor gaps, but I used clamps to get them together. Okay, it's time to make kumiko fillings, which is called gomagara pattern. I know it's different from the final product, but you'll see why. First off, I made a jig like what people use on YouTube, but as I don't have a vise, it was useless. So I just placed a small reference block in front of the strip and chiseled it. It was easy, but I changed the stop block from pine to an oak piece. That was my spare chisel reference, just because pine breaks easily, so it wasn't good. Anyways, I made them all and broke my camera tripod leg. Here is where I had a problem, and most pieces broke when I made slots on the very edge, so I had to change the filling pattern and make them over. So I updated my kumiko filling jig. With this one, I can change the angle reference by hand screw. And this is made by an old cabinet door. It's totally different from what majority of people use, but it's good with my skill level. I'm making Yaezakura pattern this time. And what I'm doing is basically the same. Just chiseling the pieces, but this doesn't need a slot. This is 60 degree and it's pretty accurate. Then changing the reference to 30 degree, and I did the same thing. Now it's time to fill them up. I worried about if the pieces fall off by force, so I was gonna put lots glue on them. But surprisingly, it was a tight fit, and just a little glue was able to hold them together. Okay, finally, the Kumiko part is done. Here is my other mission, which is dovetail joint. I used marking gauge to lay out the cutout lines and just used the handsaw to cut them. I used a ruler as a guide and cut it out really close to the marked lines. But this was just a waste of time. I mean, I needed to chisel to clean the edges later anyway, so I could just roughly cut out the pieces close to the line. For the female part, I made lots cuts in between the marked lines and smashed them off with the chisel. Then I cleaned all edges with a piece of wood as a reference block for the chisel. Lastly, I made a groove where I fit Kumiko. I know it's easier and faster if I use a router, but I still need experience of basic handcraft technique. Finally, I glue them together to see if my dovetail is good. I put pretty generous amount of glue around the joints, but I realized I didn't have enough clamps and I wasn't able to give the pressure on the lower side. It seems to be okay, so let's hope oiling will improve the fit. At this time, I rubbed the oil by my hand. Nope, I used a paintbrush. Anyways, I forgot to mention in the past videos, but the brush is a must-have when it comes to putting oil on Kumiko. And I just didn't show, but I sanded everything before oiling. I'm scoring tempered glass for the tray. Don't tell me it's a polycarbonate sheet. It was only the thing on my hand, so I tell myself this is a tempered glass, and I still believe so. Okay, everything is done, and let's see the final products. The first one is a Snickers tray. The Kumiko fits snugly. And I'm so happy with the dovetail. Though, I didn't realize the bottom of the tray wasn't flat. Here it wobbled a little bit. So I sanded it after the video shooting. Then, the next one is Kumiko coasters. Honestly, I don't like the color pattern I made, but I guess it's about the personal preference, so it's all good. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I would be happy if you liked the video, and more happy if you subscribe to this channel. If you have any suggestion to my video, it's also welcome. See you.